This is Late Night Health. This is the radio show that cares about the most important part of your life, your health. Hi, I'm Mark Alyn, along with the insane Daryl Wayne. And during the next 2 hours, we're going to address some issues that affect each and every one of us. Some positively and some maybe not so positively. We're going to be talking about everything today from lung cancer to what happens when you hit rock bottom with Robert Clancy during hour number 2. Right now, we're going to stay here in the Los Angeles area where we broadcast from, and we're going to visit with Stewart Lonky, and we're going to talk about toxins, not only in your home, your office, your car, but also in the environment. Dr. Lonky was on the show before, and we had a lot of fun with him. He gave us a lot of great information, thought it was time to bring him back. Dr. Lonky, welcome back to Late Night Health.
Well, thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Are our houses safe? I mean, environmentally, are we okay?
In the house, you mean?
In our house, in our own homes.
Well, actually, outside of your car, which we can get to, your house is probably the second largest exposure that you have to environmental toxins in the home. That's because we don't tend to think about these things very much, but we get exposed to things like nonstick cookware that we use to cook our food. We have flame retardants that are on our computers and our cell phones. We have Scotch Guard on our furniture. We have flame retardants on our mattresses. We have cleaning agents. We use aerosols. So the house is a fairly contained environment in which these toxins lurk in very small amounts. But we get a dose of them, and luckily, our bodies and our livers, primarily the liver, is able to detoxify most of these compounds, and we get rid of them mostly in our urine. And some of them that we eat go through our GI tract, and we get rid of them that way. But we absorb a very small amount.
And does that
small amount that comes into our bodies obviously has to be detoxified, and that which is not detoxified is unfortunately stored.
And can that cause problems later on? As it's stored and it builds up, can it be carcinogenic? Can it cause other disease elements?
Some of these things are carcinogenic. Clearly, the persistent organic pollutants, things like nonstick cookware, where we have certain chemicals that are persistent, certain other plastics that have things like toluene and things like phthalates in them. Some of them are carcinogenic, to be sure. But most of them disturb our metabolic function and our immune function. And our hormonal balance. So small amounts in an adult can have a gradual effect. Where they're most impactful is in young children. That's where the real cost of toxic exposures is being experienced in our population.
And we hear about women starting menstruation earlier because of hormonal. The hormones kick in earlier. Do some of these hormone are they affected by these environmental toxins?
Yes, many of them are hormone emulators. That is, that they are a term that's used sometimes is xeno with an X, Xeno, xenoestrogens. And androgens for men. They behave like hormones, but they're not hormones. So they stimulate the receptors, if you will, and the same receptor that estrogen would stimulate, and you get the same effect. That is, early breast formation, early periods, menarche, thelarche in women, and we're seeing the same thing with men, with young boys. And these chemicals that we're exposed to in the home and on the outside and in our place of work and everywhere else we go, they have a cumulative effect. They tend to be, most of these, except for the heavy metals. You know, you talk about things like aluminum and mercury and lead, and you say, well, I don't get lead exposure. Well,
right.
Of course you do. Of course you do. And kids get lead exposure all the time. They get it in toys that we buy for them because they have lead in the paints, because these toys are made abroad where they don't have very strict regulations on the amount of lead. Kids tend to put things in their mouths. All the lead that was ever used in lead-based paint, okay, we removed all that paint. Where'd the lead go? Did the great lead genie come from the sky and remove all that? It's still here. It's still here. It's just powdered dust. It's in schoolyards. It's in sandlots. It's wherever that dust went. That's where lead is. And there's lead in our homes. We tend to think, well, we have copper plumbing. We don't have to worry about that. But the solder that they use to solder the copper has lead in it.
I didn't think they were using solder anymore. I didn't think they were using solder anymore. I thought that was...
They still do, yeah.
They still do?
They use a lot of PVCs, but the copper part is still soldered.
Our guest is Stewart Lonky. He is the author of the book Invisible Killers, The Truth About Environmental Genocide. He's developed a 4-step process to eliminating toxins in your home, and he calls it APE, A-I-P-E. And we're going to talk about that now. I mean, last time we talked, and I remembered this, and I told my wife, don't buy paper plates anymore. Because, right?
Well, the paper plates, many of them are treated with chemicals, dioxin, for example, to get that white color, if you will. And unfortunately, when you put food on it, you're eating it. And you know, the number one access to our bodies, people tend to think it's inhalation. It's not. It's eating.
Oh my.
We put things in our mouths, the water we drink, the air that's surrounding us, the small microparticles that are falling on our food, the other chemicals in our environment that fall on our food, the chemicals in the pots and pans, the aluminum in the aluminum pots and pans, all of that we take in through our GI tract and we absorb that. Through our GI tract.
My grandmother, and I think you and I talked about this last time, my grandmother cooked with iron skillets.
Right. Nobody does that. You know what? I would challenge my grandchildren, if I showed them a Brillo soap pad, they would have no idea what the heck that was.
It's true. And I have those in my home because that's what I use.
But what do we use them on?
Right. Well, you can't use them on the Teflon-coated cookware. But I still have a couple of iron pans that I cook with, and I use those all the time to remove.
Yes, we do too. And now we've discovered these titanium pots and pans, which are wonderful because they don't have a coating on them, and they're fairly stick resistant. But again, here's the thing and this is the A of ape. A of ape, A-I-P-E. The A is accept the fact that you're being exposed. If you don't accept it, none of the rest of this will have any meaning to you. You've got to accept the fact that no matter what modifications I've made in my home, when I go out to dinner or I go to Starbucks and get a muffin, do I know if they use nonstick cookware? I don't know that.
Got it.
Do I know that the organic chemicals, the organically grown fruit that I buy, and I tend to buy only organic, still is completely free of any chemicals? Of course not. Because the farmer that was 2 fields over was using chemicals. They go into the groundwater. The aquifers bring that water down to the organic farmer. He can't stop that. And voila.
And
is it less? It's much less.
And if there's spraying and there's wind, it's going to get over there that way too.
Now you understand. And the fact that we have a jet stream here in California, there were some studies done at the University of Michigan years ago, taking a look at particulate matter in the LA basin, and a significant percent, as much as a third of the particulate matter in the LA basin comes from China. Oh. How's that?
That is scary.
So, here we go. The jet stream it knows no boundaries. There's no free trade agreement here. We just get what we get. And so the number one thing of 8 is accept. You must accept the fact that you, your children, and more importantly, your unborn child is going to be exposed to these kinds of toxins. You must accept the fact that we have a burden that each and every one of us carries. Now, the second part of 8 is identify. Once you've accepted it, you need to start and sit down and take a look by identifying those areas in which you go where you're exposed, because the next step is P, prevent. So I and P go together.
Right.
If you identify, you can begin to eliminate and you can begin to prevent future exposure. And if you can't prevent the exposure, you can prevent the absorption. And that's the most important.
And we're going to be talking about that as Late Night Health continues. Stewart Lonky, our guest, the author of Invisible Killers, The Truth About Environmental Genocide. There's some statistics. The average baby is born with over 200 toxins in their bodies. That's frightening. We're going to come back and continue our conversation with Dr. Lonky in just a moment as Late Night Health continues. Join us at latenighthealth.com. Lots going on over there. latenighthealth.com. And find us on Facebook and Twitter, facebook.com/Late Night Health and Twitter @Late Night Health. More coming up. Don't go away as Late Night Health moves forward.
You're listening to Late Night Health with Mark Alyn. The show continues in a moment.
The experts at Web.com want to build your business a successful website for free, just like we did for these current Web.com customers.
We've looked at other website designers. There's nobody better than Web.com.
Web.com can build your website in as little as 7 days free. Plus, we'll promote it on all the major search engines. If after 30 days you're happy, we'll continue to provide promotion, hosting, support, and maintenance, all for one low monthly fee. If not, cancel and pay nothing.
If you're in business and you don't have a web presence, you won't be taken seriously.
Call right now and you'll also get a free .com or .net domain name for your new website, powered by VeriSign, the world's leading domain name provider.
No upfront charge for site build, after which ongoing fees apply. Rights to site are relinquished when canceled. Domain included during active service, after which fees apply.
800-489-8751. 800-489-8751. 800-489-8751. That's 800-489-8751. Attention users of the blood-thinning drug Xarelto. If you took the drug Xarelto and experienced complications such as cerebral hemorrhage, gastrointestinal bleeding or other internal bleeding, or if a loved one has died after taking Xarelto, you may be eligible to get a cash award for your suffering. Call the Xarelto Help Hotline now at 1-800-264-3150. That's 800-264-3150. To qualify for a cash settlement, you must file a claim before the deadline, so don't miss your opportunity for a cash settlement. Call 800-264-3150 now for a free, no-obligation consultation. Our call center is open 24/7. So if you took the drug Xarelto and experienced cerebral hemorrhage, gastrointestinal bleeding, or other internal bleeding, or if a loved one has died after taking Xarelto, call the Xarelto Help Hotline now at 800-264-3150. 800-264-3150. That's 800-264-3150.